Good afternoon, and welcome to the talk program of the 4th Public Diplomacy Week. This session is titled the ASEAN-ROK Exchange Through Art and Culture, and is co-hosted by ASEAN Culture House, located in Busan, and ASEAN Foundation, located in Jakarta, Indonesia. I am Ye Ji-shin, a program officer at the Korea Foundation, and I'll be co-moderating this session together with Ben Hemp, who is the project director at the ASEAN Foundation. He will be joining us virtually through the screen right behind us. Good afternoon, Ben. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Yeji. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Wonderful. Thanks, Yeji. And a warm welcome to those of you who have joined us on site at Dongdaemun Design Plaza, and those of you who are joining us online. I am certainly missing being in Seoul in person today, but I guess bringing people together in this hybrid phygital format has forced us all to exercise our creativity over the last 2 years. And that leads us very neatly into part of what our session will explore this afternoon, and that is how the arts and culture connects us in tangible and dynamic ways to our world, advances diplomatic efforts, builds deep connections, mutual understanding, and goodwill that builds the resilient communities underpinning our future prosperity. I'm very excited to hear what our expert speakers have to say today, and I trust that you are also. Now, to set the stage, so to speak, it is my very great pleasure to introduce Dr. Yang Mi Eng, the Executive Director of the ASEAN Foundation, and our keynote speaker. Dr. Yang has over 26 years experience in the public and private sectors with specializations in media, gaming, and the digital economy. She has led the ASEAN Foundation since 2020, a multinational not-for-profit organization with programs that cover 4 key areas, namely community building, education and scholarships, media and journalism, and of course, arts and culture. Please join me in welcoming to the screen Dr. Yang Mi Eng.
Thank you so much, Ben, and a very good afternoon to all of you. 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
Hello, everyone.
I'm actually very happy to be here and very happy to work together with Korea Foundation. It's too bad, Ben, that we couldn't be in Dongdaemun, our favorite place for shopping and food. So never mind, our heart is there. So without further ado, let me do some sharing with you about what is the partnerships with, wait a minute, give me a second. Yeah. Yeah. So I hope you can see my PPT. Okay. So just a quick introduction. ASEAN Foundation is actually, wait a minute, the screen, wait. Okay. ASEAN Foundation has been set up since 1997. So we have been doing a lot of community building and then a lot of development for the people-to-people's connections. So let me just share with you. Okay, our mission is to commit to promoting ASEAN awareness. So in terms of ASEAN awareness, we promote ASEAN identity. So we have 4 sections here. You can see that our pillars are arts and culture, community building, education, and media. So arts and culture is very deep embedded in ASEAN Foundation's mission. So this is in line. That's why we are very happy and thank you to ROK for trusting ASEAN Foundation to be your partner. So for the last 1 year, we started the ASEAN Foundation and Connect ASEAN program. It's already more than a year. So until now, I think there are many programs that we already conducted. And unfortunately, there are not much of face-to-face, but still we do our best. Of course, with my project director, which is Ben, has been trying his best to run the programs with these limitations of movement. So we also won 3G Capacity Building Awards last year and also 3G Championship Award in Social Responsibility with the Cambridge award. So Gold Award for the best PR campaign in public service in 2018. And these are some of the programs that we have. We do have more than 10 programs, but for next year, we have almost close to 16 programs running together concurrently with a very small team. We are very lean organization because we are actually fully funded by our funders, public and private funds. So if you see that ASEAN Care on the top is actually for the pandemic relief and helping all the people in ASEAN to cope with the pandemic. So we give like food relief. We also give like sanitizing materials, masks, and all that. And this is really supported by United Way Worldwide and Korean Chess Community. So that is also our partnerships with United Way Worldwide. So if you see that we have Data Science Explorer, we have Social Enterprise Development Program, Bridges to the Future, Future Ready ASEAN, all these programs that you see, some of the names here are very digital-like, is more on future ready skill. Because at this pandemic time, we focus a lot on IR 4.0 programs. That means upgrading the skills for the young people in ASEAN. Our young people is aged from 15 to 34. So this group of people needs to be given opportunities to find works. They are actually the lost generation. So we are trying to reduce the lost generation impact here. So most of our programs are designed and custom-made to suit these needs of the time. And we do have very good partners like Google, Huawei coming into the pictures. And we also have got German government, and of course, not forgetting Korean government for your support. So we have ASEAN's Youth Social Journalism Contest. These are actually the arts and cultural. Sometimes we use a media platform for the competition, but the themes is always changing, like environmental, climate change, so all the themes we work around whatever is needed during that time. So every year we have a different types of theme. And if you see the ASEAN Foundation Model ASEAN meeting, maybe I would like to also open up for Korea Foundation in future to consider our partnership with us, because this is the exchange of youth between two countries. Then we can have a leadership program. And this leadership program takes the model of the summit meeting, all the ministerial meetings. So they have a role play here, So the youth really enjoy this kind of partnerships and work together between the youth. So I would like to actually propose for the partnerships for this program. So we have Empowering Youth, which is more on social development. We go to the ground, we identify community that we wanted to help, and this program actually fully funded by Maybank Foundation. It's a bank, it's a financial institution. And of course, we have ASEAN Foundation internship program right now. We actually transform our internship totally to online since last year, because the young people couldn't come to Jakarta to do their internship. We only have one headquarters, which is based in Jakarta. And I will zoom into the Connect ASEAN program. It is actually a ASEAN-Korean partnerships. It's a promoting cultural diplomacy. I would proudly want to say that this is one of the first initiatives focusing on arts and cultural partnerships. So I really thank ROK, for your contribution and support to boost up and to help us actually achieve the ASEAN identity mission. So we have these are actually based tied up to all the policies and strategies in line with the ASEAN missions and visions by the leaders. So we have Presidential Committee on New Southern Policies. We have ASEAN ROK Plan Actions on 2021-2025. We also have packed together the strategy with ASEAN Social Cultural Community Blueprint 2025 and Strategic Plan for Culture and Arts. There is a special one drafted in 2016 to 2025 with the senior officials. So we work closely also with SOMCA, if you are aware of this program. So Connect ASEAN's so far, the 1.5 years, we have already facilitating exchange among artists from ASEAN and Republic Korea. So you can see that we have total applicants of 3,000 over, and we totally benefited 1,000 over beneficiaries. And the impacts for the exhibition side, we have about 3 or 4 exhibitions with the museum, and it's already churned out 24,000, close to 25,000 of visitors. So even during this pandemic time, people can still walk into the museum and appreciate the arts, the arts from Korea and arts from ASEAN. So our partners are Museum Macan, and then Binale in Jogja. We have ASEAN Culture House, and then we have ASEAN-ROK Foundations partnership. So we have few parties that we are working with. And these are some of the quick introduction on some of the programs that we have launched and organized last year. We have Connect ASEAN Virtual 360-degree Connect, which is this is one of the very good programs where we have partner, we have pair ASEAN artists, ASEAN cultural arts players, and also Korean. So they have to be in the pair. So they have to look after each other, and they have to understand each other's cultural, and arts and the country's background. So this is a gathering of 20 emerging cultural leaders from both both regions, and then weekly art stories update via Instagram, and we also produce each of the team produce articles, from their sharing and all that, from the experience. So you can see that Jade Park, one of the participants from Korea, has shared. And actually during this pandemic time, most of the artists feel that they are alone, they are badly affected, their livelihood. I think except, I think Korea recently, yesterday just announced, Koreans' soft power is really powerful, creating so much of incomes and revenue for GDP contribution for this year. So thanks to the Squid Game, and I think I'm not sure if you have watched it, but that is really a superpower. I have watched it, and I finished it in 2 days' time because this is so engaging. So no doubt it can actually hit the world markets and make its roots to the success. So we have ASEAN Day 2020 short video contest. Okay, this was done during last year when everybody was cracking our head and saying, okay, look, we are now locked down. We can't travel. We can't cross to any other country. What shall we do? So we quickly launched, within 2 weeks, I think, we quickly launched a competition, and surprisingly, we have received more than almost close to 100 within the 2 weeks short films. So we have winner from Philippines and also from Indonesia. So these are really good examples of people still can use the medium of arts and culture to express their ideas and their message across the region, and also now to Korea. So we have one more is Creative Future Dialogues. It's a series of dialogues during the post-pandemic. We target at post-pandemic pathways for the arts and cultural sector. So here, all the artists and in creative industry players come together and share the way and draft some roadmaps for betterment of the industry. Of course, the 3 themes is digital acceleration, social impact, environmental sustainability. So these are the topics that cannot run away for this moment. We will we will have to actually converge. Before that, the digital is always there for creative industry, but it has never really been taken too seriously, except if you are in the new media line. So they use a lot of technology. But for the storytelling and traditional arts and cultural platform, digital is for them is quite new. So here we are talking about converting the virtual arts and paintings and beautiful creations into digital format. That is really mind-boggling, and then it's really creating good impact from the attendance to the museum. They use all this technology to showcase their work. So the artists actually don't have to travel to their location. They can still tell the story effectively. And we have Connect ASEAN Stories Across Rising Land. This is really a successful program. Churned up more than 18,000 of participants visiting Macan Museum in Jakarta. So we have full support from all our ambassadors, our board of trustees, and also some of the ambassadors to ASEAN, especially from from European countries come and actually visit this showcase. And in terms of Connect ASEAN August gathering, this is another one that we just produced, ASEAN Gallery 20th Anniversary Commemorative Publication. So it is a very nice book. If you're really interested to know about ASEAN and its origins and the arts and culture from each country, you should actually pick up these books. I think these books, this publication can also be accessed through our website. There is a soft copy for everyone. It's free, free publication. So if you are in Jakarta, you of course can drop by to the center. There is a center, it's a physical center here of all the collections is placed there. We have, this is the recent programs, just about last 2 weeks, I think, it has been running now. So it will be completed by mid of November. It's a Biennale Jogja. We have a Korean Pavilion 2020. The theme is Hacking Domesticity. So this is talking about arts and cultural expression again. And it is a very good display. And it's still open if you want to visit until 22nd, I think. Yeah. So if any of you are interested to appreciate the history and arts creations and storytelling, please come and join this Jogja. And we have also got virtual version of it. You can also access to the virtual version of this show. And in terms of shifting orientation Singapore Art Week, this has been taking place in Singapore, but there is also a combination of collaboration. The theme is in our best interest, Afro-Southeast ASEAN Infinities during a Cold War NTU ADM Gallery. So this program actually has, wait a minute, sorry. So this is a partnership with ASEAN Asia Europe Foundation. Wait, just a moment. Yep. So, okay, never mind. I think there are some artworks that we want to show. So this spin-off from the just now that program, this first program in Singapore, there is a spin-off to this Vargas Museum, Manila. So the theme is actually Cast But One Shadow, Afro-Southeast Asia. There is also another good showcase for you to actually check it out if you are in Manila. So in terms of ASEAN Culture House Busan, we have it in from November 2021 to February 2022. So this is based on Rise to the Surface. This is another great preparation. I think all the work that we work together with the ministerial level of each of the country AMS, and the artist output and artwork has been selected and nominated by the government from each of the 10 countries. So they actually nominated their artists to represent the country. So all the work has been shifted and arrived in Busan and will be showcasing very soon. So you will see original work. It's not the replicas and all that, no, because we still do the shifting and movements of arts across using physical methods. So to end my presentation and sharing, I just want to thank Ambassador to ASEAN, Ambassador Lim, for your greater support. And then also I'm looking forward to create more impact and to actually do more programs with ROK or artists from Korea or industry players from Korea. So I also would like to pledge for everyone here, together let's try to find a way to come up with a very good roadmaps and strategy that we can help to build back the creative industry from ASEAN region. So that is what I would like to end my presentation here, and I pass it back to Ben. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yang Mi Yang, for your presentation. Our next speaker is Kyu Choi, who is a Performing Arts Festival Director. He began his career at the Chuncheon International Mime Festival and then at the Ansan Street Arts Festival. Most recently, he served as a creative director of the UK-Korea season 2017 and 18, organized by the British Council. And in 2005, Q founded Asia Now Production to develop, produce, and present innovative contemporary theater, dance, and interdisciplinary arts of Asia. Today, he will be sharing his experience with a particular focus on ASEAN. Please join me in welcoming Q Choi to the stage.
Thank you very much, Yeji. 안녕하세요.
Hello.
Very quiet.
I just want to communicate to you audience here. So, very nice meeting you to coming over here. My name is Q Choi. Now I'm working as a creative director at Seoul Performing Arts Market as well as Asia Now production company. Thank you very much for having me as one of the speakers as part of ASEAN-Korea Exchange Art and Culture hosted by Korea Foundation, Asian Culture House in Busan and Asian Foundation in Jakarta. I am an independent producer, so what I'm going to sharing with you is not policy. As a practitioner, I have more questioning and the findings I would like to share rather than about what we did, what was good, like that. That's so. So after this session, we try to think about or rethink about, resharing about how we have a more deeply connect with between ASEAN and Korea. For the visually impaired person, I audio describe myself and also where we are. We are at DDP Conference Hall. I am 176 tall, wearing black jacket, men in black. I am also a little bit curly hair, medium built. So let's go to my slide. My slide, okay, slide does not move. Here? Okay, just 1 second. Oh, yes, okay, thank you. My slide basically is divided into two parts. First part is I'm working as one of initiator or organizer Asian Producers Platform, which is, as you see, the independent producers network in Asia. So through the Asian Producers Platform, we organize Asian Producers Platform Camp. So especially I will focus on Jakarta, Yogyakarta, the connection with Southeast Asia, so that part. So where we can sort of sharing what we learned, what we found. Second part is sort of more questioning for the preparation of post-pandemic. So if pandemic, COVID-19 gave lots of questions, so what would be the future collaboration at the post-pandemic, so slide. So briefly introduce about Asian Producer Platform is a partnership with the independent sector and then private, the public sector. So Australia, Japan, Korea, Taiwan started, but we are 100 independent producer in course of all Asia. But partners supported Australia Council, Art Council Korea, and the Japan Foundation, and Taiwan National Cultural Art Foundation. But we do have an annual meeting, also producers camp. So that's the structure starting 2013. And in 2021, we couldn't meet physically, we met virtually. So we have a virtual residence through the online. Main core program in APP camp, basically connecting to people, understanding local contexts and creative industry in each country. And important part is topic group research based on local context, what we have to research in a deeper way. And rather than somebody give a lecture, we are more focused on peer-to-peer mentorship. That's what we focus on. next slide is what actually we focus on. So 3 keyword Asia Produce platform. Number 1 is producers. Because normally we talking about artist creativity, so we are less talking about producers creativity. So we are challenging about the role of producer. So what would be producers creativity? And then especially within Asian context, the producer's role should be different. What would be the new role? That's sort of our main question. And then, as you know, is Asia, also ASEAN, really dominated by the governmental, national-oriented kind of partnership. So how we independent sector making interdependent between, the private independent sector and the governmental sector. That's a sort of main focus. Second thing is it's hard to define what is Asian identity, but we are less talking about Asian identity, more talking about Asian transnational approach. But when we started 2013, what is a contemporary art in Asia? That was our question. And also, rather than Indonesian context or Korea context or Thailand context, what will be transnational approach in ASEAN countries? That was our main focus. The last one is how we really encourage cross-cultural collaboration between Asian countries. That was important question. Also, non-governmental Asian network, that was our main focus. Last for almost 8 years, these are what we found. Is more about how independent sector established national institution could work together. That was the first question we had. And next generation, because Asia is really strong hierarchical culture, so how we sort of provide a new space for the next generation, that was the second question. And then also the collaboration based on nation. So how we move away from nation-based, more city, local culture-based. That was a sort of our questions. And also number 4 is a non-governmental Asian platform. Try to get our independence of our artistic direction. And also, number 5 was very important is Korean Hallyu really dominates Southeast Asia. This commercial way is only good. Yes, public diplomacy way is a good way, soft power, but there is no, K-pop only in Korean culture. So how we sort of out of a box of mainstream. Also, the Chinese political power in Southeast Asia, we found very strong. We make a joke about within 10 years, before there was a big gap between European culture and Asian culture, but we said that Chinese-speaking, non-Chinese-speaking political power or cultural imbalance will be a big issue we talked about. And also, Japan Foundation or Japanese cultural power is very strong in Asia. So how we sort of, out of those 3 countries, we get a balance, that was a big topic. But last one is important is what will be transnational approach. Yes, each country has a different context, but still there is gender issues, also disability, diversity, inclusion, city issue. So how we connect a transnational way, that was a sort of big questions we found it. So 2018, we had the Yogyakarta and Jakarta had a 7 days camp in association with the independent producers in Indonesia, and also Salihara Theater and several arts organizations in Yogyakarta. So we had a lot of visiting program to local studios and also meeting local artists, research, also based on 5 topics, open forums, and enjoying local culture, especially food. So this is a sort of finding which goes to my question for the developing Asian, ASEAN and Korea performing art connection. Compared to Korea, the Indonesian, our colleagues, is much more focused on community art, socially engaged artwork. So we had a meeting with Theatre Garage and also Kunchi Cultural Studios. They are all much more focused on socially engaged art. Also, second big finding is artist initiated community, rather than Korea is everything is a government. So how different between ASEAN countries and Korea? And also third topic we found is still we are also similar question we have, the unbroken link between traditional and contemporary. That's the same question they have, because Indonesian traditional art is strong and very rich. So how we transform into the contemporary art, that was big questions. Also, last one is we found a very interesting, important one is independent, non-funded festivals. But in Korea is fully supported by government. So how they work, so especially the Paper Moon Puppet Company-based Pesta Boneca Festival, and also interesting other Bedrock Art Festivals, how they actually manage run the festival without, supporting. That was findings. So the conclusion we found through the Indonesian camp is three sectors we have to think about. What is a contemporary art connection? Because the meaning of contemporary in ASEAN countries and Korea are slightly different. More independently, more sort of community-based, but here in Korea is digital-driven and also industry-driven. So, so there is a sort of gap, differences and a similarity. So how when we say the contemporary art connection, how actually we connect with the different concept, different meanings. Second thing is a lot of project is sort of annual supporting. So how we actually long-term perspective, long-term development within Asians, ASEAN countries and Korea. And the last one is a really important question is, what is a fair collaboration? Because out of ODA countries supporting and contributing, we do have all different resources, which can be human resources, which can be knowledge. It's not only money. So what would be fair means between the connection in ASEAN countries and Korea? So I just leave this question to you and to the speakers. What would be fair collaboration and also transnational connection between ASEAN and Korea? So I don't have I don't want to give an answer, but I hope you can think about in the future. This is sort of before pandemic started. My last, 3 slides talking about in a post-pandemic time. I had a big research last year, interview with international artists, producers, festival director, venue director, policymaker. So, so when you see this, the link, you can see all the interview, 12 different interviews. So when we have an interview, these are sort of findings about now, are we going to stop? Are we going to pause and then change the direction? So things we have to stop no longer does not work, even though we go back to the normal. So we had a big question about how we shifting, finding new ways. And then everybody knows about digitalization and also online platform for the performing arts, climate change, how we responding to climate changes, how we can make green deep mobility ways. And then the physical movement is really limited. So how, on the other hand, artists really focus on about your neighborhood. So locality, hyper locality, decentralization was a hot issue. So based on that, we found that these three questions for the future international mobility and collaboration and circulation. Number one is about new ways of connection. Number two is about climate change, how to artistically respond about green way mobility. Because carbon footprint we made when we fly on, sending over all, the art craft. So what would be greener way we sort of move around? The last one is, we are living in a technology-driven society. We can't, I don't mean technology will be replaced by the performing live art, but we have to really think about how digital technology creates digital mobility. Based on that, we have three questions. So a lot of questions. Number one is, what is international touring mobility and circulation at the post-pandemic time? Second question is, in response to the climate crisis, what are creative practice of artists, and what is international mobility that is much more greener? The last one is, how does evolving technology are embedded in our daily life change creation, production, audience, and consumption of the art? Because as you know, now is a metaverse, VR, XR, one of the new trends in the art. So what is digital mobility? That's a sort of question. I know it is clear government just announced about with Corona policy, we will a certain way go back to the so-called normal. But I think this is a big sort of important question is, one of my colleagues, Anthony, said that among the loss and the damage, there have been the invaluable learning of new kind of thinking, new ways of doing things. For the more important thing is, rather than reassembling the broken pieces from the past, we have to actually create new foundation. That's sort of what I want to share, what I want to talk with you. So, for the preparation of pandemic, international mobility and a connection, these are questions I would like to share with you. Is what will be the next mobility in ASEAN at a post-pandemic era? When the democracy movement in Myanmar, in Asian country, the most responsive country was Korea. Have you ever thought about why is that? Because there are so many Myanmar workers here, we already have a connecting with those people. There are many ASEAN people living in Korea. When we think about always international exchange, we talking about outbound. What about inner ASEAN in Korea? So rather than going outbound, we have the time to think about inner ASEAN in Korea. What will be the role of art for the connecting ASEAN people within Korea? That's sort of my questions I would like to share with you. Thank you very much for listening. I hope these are good questions you can think about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Choi. And thank you so much for sharing your perspective from the independent practitioner's perspective. That's really important for us to consider, especially in the public diplomacy context. So let's move on to our next speaker. Mr. Tom Tandio from Indonesia is a businessman and collector. He has served on the board of the Jogja Biennale, and he founded the Indo Art Now Foundation, an online platform archiving works by contemporary Indonesian artists. In 2016, his collection of Southeast Asian art was exhibited in the Song Yun Art Space, a non-profit art foundation in Seoul. Previously, Tom was the president of the Board of Young Collectors for Art Stage Jakarta, and later the fair's artistic director. He is currently the fair director of Art Jakarta, an annual international art fair with a focus on Southeast Asian and the Asian art market. Please join me in welcoming to the screen Tom Tandio.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for introducing me. Let me try to share my screen. All right. So thank you, Mr. Q Choi, also for all the questions you have for your presentation. It's very, very interesting. On my side, I would just like to share more about the visual arts as a cultural diplomacy. First of all, today, there's so many events that's going on in cultural exchange. But I decided that for this presentation, I'll pick the activities or the events that I personally is involved or personally is included. So first of all, I'd like to share about Art Jakarta. I'm now the Fair Director of Art Jakarta. Art Jakarta has been running for 10 years. And in 2019, we revamped Art Jakarta with new branding, new positioning, new location, and we were very successful. And we have 70 participants from galleries. 40 of them are non-Indonesian, and 6 of them actually are Korean. So they are Arario, Atelier Aki, Baik, Sun Contemporary, Ye, and Column Gallery. I would like to share some of the pictures that we have. Art Jakarta, this is our new look, very different from what it used to be. In Southeast Asia, other than Singapore, most of the affairs are usually held in a ballroom setting. So this Art Jakarta has left a very strong impression to a lot of the visitors. And I would like to show you that such as this is a Art Jakarta spot, an artwork installation by Ronald Ventura from Philippines. This is a very famous Indonesian artist called Eko Nugroho, an installation also in Art Jakarta. Art Jakarta also have this spot which we represented one of the Korean artists, Yoo Jin-in. Sorry if I cannot pronounce it right. Represented by Column Gallery, and her works is actually about the political issues between North Korea and South Korea. And for us, like Asian, we especially ASEAN, it would be very interesting for us to learn more historical issues of Korea. And she actually came down and she had a lot of interaction with a lot of the galleries, Indonesian galleries, collectors, and it's good for both sides. In 2020, Art Jakarta, we decided to continue with the fair with the same setting, and at the beginning when we were doing our application, we actually have all the 6 Korean galleries coming back, including new galleries such as Kukje, Gallery Wong, to join us. But sadly, in March, COVID hits Indonesia, and in May, Art Jakarta had to cancel. But in October, we changed our strategy and we changed it to Art Jakarta Virtual, an online Art Jakarta space. And actually, in Asia, I think this is one of the first art fair that actually does a virtual fair. So it's very different from the online virtual room. So our fair looks exactly like a fair, and you go into the fair like game to understand, to see art in the virtual space. Now, today I want to share with you also in our fair settings that a lot of people always see fairs as only a buy and sell place, but actually a fair actually has a lot of cultural exchange inside. And for the galleries, especially Korea, who have visited Indonesia, eventually they also pick up Indonesian artists to be represented by the galleries. And even those that are not participating, they also come to Art Jakarta, and we, Art Jakarta, also introduce them to artists so that they can represent in Korea. Art Jakarta, other than that, we also do other programs such as collector exchange programs. So every year, we will, so one of the fair that we will collaborate with is KIAF in Seoul. So we will bring 15 to 20 Indonesian collectors to go to Seoul, and we will join their VIP tours and exchange to visit a lot of the collectors' home in Korea, to visit all the museums. And so it's also one of the exchange between the countries. Now, I would like to share also on my personal side, I started collecting in 2007, and on 2016, I was invited by Songwon Art and Cultural Foundation, their new name, and they have a new building now in Seoul. They're very respectable, and they invite me for a show of my collection. We have 9 artists that was exhibited there, and each of them have about 3 to 4 works, so there are about 40 works exhibited there. It's a very great initiative, a very great project that I was involved with. I'm very honored to be there, and I learned a lot through this exchange from Songwon of how we can do better exhibitions, not only for artists, but also for collectors and also for curators. Songwon has great programs that always represent good art scene in Seoul. So these are some of the pictures that I have in my collection. And then Songwon also at the same time did another 2 shows. Another show is it's called the Mass 56. It's a collective photography collective, and they were shown in Songwon. They are a very important photography collective in Indonesia, and Songwon purposely picked a collector as a show, a collective in the show, and the last one is actually artist. She's a very famous female artist, which is now represented by White Cube. Her works mostly depicts about her life, and she also had a solo show in Songwon. I would like to share, these are some pictures. Before I end, I just want to share that in a cultural exchange, especially in an event, a lot of people see value just face value. The event does happen only one time, but there's always repeating effects or ripple effects that happens that benefited the whole scene more than just that event. So I really hope that more exchange will happen between countries, ASEAN and Korea, and looking forward for more events. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Our final speaker is Young-woo Kim, who is a film programmer at the DMZ International Film Festival. He has been curating special programs and showcases focusing on Asian and ASEAN cinemas to the Korean audience, while showcasing Korean movies and cinemas to the abroad as well. Please join me in welcoming Young-woo Kim to the stage.
Hello. Actually, I'm talking about cinema, of Asian cinema and then Korean cinema exchange program. My name is Young-woo Kim, and I'm working for several film festivals as a programmer, mainly working on Asian cinema. Today, actually, I'll talk about the Korean and ASEAN cinema, and then how they affect each other and work together and interact through the programs with a couple of keywords. The accessibility and availability and the networking collaborations. Okay. I think we can start with the medium and the Rangjong. Anyone watch this movie? The medium, Rangjong? Anyone watched? No, none. Okay. Actually, this is, you can call it the medium and the Rangjong. It's kind of a very scary and horror film. It's co-production movie between Korea and Thailand. And then I released in Korea last July. And actually, this project got many attention from the festival and the industry people, even at the developing stage, because this is a collaboration between 2 established and then very commercially very successful filmmakers from Korea and Thailand, Na Hong-jin and Ban Chong. And then also it's interesting the case. This is a collaboration of 2 companies, 2 major companies, Megabox of Korea and the GDH of Thailand. Actually, 2 major companies, representing Korean cinema and Thailand cinema. The major companies of Korea, like CJ and Lotte, have branched out into the film industry of ASEAN countries and then work with local filmmakers. But actually, this case of Rangjong was a bit different kind of a collaboration. This is kind of different types of co-production. It was very interesting. Actually, this is the poster from the 2 filmmakers, the Goksung, the Wailing, and then Pimak, about the Ban Chong. Actually, this is another case. Actually, this is Bad Genius. Anyone watch this film? Bad Genius, right? Okay, actually, this movie was really, really successful in most of Asian countries except Korea. actually, which is clearly showing how Korean box office is very selective to Asian cinema. And then the Korean box office is, yeah, we always say that actually Korean box office is a lack of diversity. So hardly see Asian films, Asian titles at theaters, and then neither at other online platforms now. So it goes to accessibility or availability. Actually, while Korean films and the contents are relatively easy to access in the Asian region via different platforms, but actually the content of ASEAN, the region, are still not seen to Korean audience here. But still, the major film festivals in Korea, like the organizations and then the cultural centers like an ASEAN Cultural House, have been working hard to introduce ASEAN movies and then the content to the Korean audience. Actually, most of international film festivals, like the Busan and Jeonju and then the Bucheon International Film Festival, they've been introducing and then discovering and focusing on ASEAN cinema as one of their key programs. Not just the major film festivals, but also a good number of showcases of ASEAN cinema being organized by cultural centers. And ASEAN Cinema Week it's been actually it's done twice so far. It's one of the very successful events with more like an ASEAN commercial films. It's all done this year and then 2 years ago. Next keyword is networking collaborations. This is about supporting programs for the ASEAN young filmmakers in Korea. If we have a good idea or good concept or good project, there are opportunities you can get help or support. Major film festivals like Busan and Bucheon, they are running funding programs to support ASEAN young filmmakers. Like Busan Asian Project Market is one of the biggest project market for Asian and Korean project at the developing stage. Actually, this is the winner of APM Asian Project Market this year. You can see the Camilla Andini, she's representing the Indonesian independent film scene. And then another project from Vietnam got award. Also, actually this year, Bucheon Fantastic Film Festival, they're focusing on the more genre films. So actually they work closely with the ASEAN filmmakers and then the ASEAN production companies because the genre films are very strong in the region. So we can see a good number of projects. Actually, this is not completed yet. These are at the developing stage. They are all the projects from the ASEAN region. Actually here in Bucheon and during the festival, the filmmakers and the producers of the project can meet partners and the producers, and then finance opportunities, and then a chance to win a prize. See, or like a new project and poster of a project from the ASEAN countries. This is another case. Actually, White Building is very fresh title this year from Cambodia. It's Kabik Nung. Actually, White Building is one of the cases. Actually, this project was developed and then attended a Busan Asian Project Market and got Best Award, Busan Award in 2016. And then it went on the production and completed this year. And then it's premiered at Venice International Film Festival this year. And then still going around. And then it's pretty much still showing at the many major festivals now. Not just for the fund of industrial program, but also good quality of workshops and education programs to learn and then create a network among young filmmakers from Korea, ASEAN, and Asian countries. Actually, this is photo from NAP. This is a network or something. Actually, this is presented by Bucheon Fantastic International Film Festival. This is kind of film school of Bucheon, the film festival. And we also have a photo of FLY, we call it FLY, ASEAN and Korean film leaders incubating program in Busan. this program went around ASEAN countries like in Jakarta, and then Singapore, and then many countries, Brunei as well, like 2 years ago. But actually, this is stopped now due to the pandemic. Yeah, these are like the posters from all the events. Yes, actually to conclude, there are many things happening between Korean and ASEAN region when it comes to cinema and the film industry. And then we will be still doing many things to be beneficial to both sides. However, cinema and the content are mostly easy to access and work together. And this has been proved recent years in both regions. So I really personally want to emphasize a couple of things here. As the film industry and the content's power of ASEAN countries have been rapidly growing, there are many things to do together in the near future. And then we need to put more our efforts, create network among key players, and then a bridge between young content creators from both regions, and to grow together. Thank you.
Thank you, Young-woo, for your presentation. And thank you, everyone, for your presentation. It was indeed meaningful to see how ASEAN and ROK have been communicating and exchanging their own unique values in different sectors of the arts and culture. We plan to have a little time for the Q&A session and a discussion, but due to the time limit, now I have to announce the closing of the session. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and then we hope to see you again at our continued projects. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Dr. Yang Lian. Thank you, Tom
May I
Tati.
just say thank you on behalf of the ASEAN Foundation. And of course, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. 감사합니다.